Hi, I'm Mary Maranville, and it's December, and this month I'm in Fillmore, and our grower spotlight is on Duda, and I'm here with Dean Diefenthaler, and he is the Vice President of Duda. And can you tell us how Duda got its name?
Yeah, Duda is a family name. It started out and originated with Andrew Duda, who came over from the Slavia region in Europe and brought his three sons, Ferdinand, John, and Andy. And those were the three elders, or what we speak of as the three elders, that really built the company that is the foundation of what this company has become today. It's currently in its fourth generation of management.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I would say we're in somewhere in about the 90th year of operations.
90 years, that is wonderful. And how did you get involved with Duda? What is your background, Dean?
My background, I was born and raised on a farm in Ohio, corn, wheat, and soybeans. Went off to Ohio State University, learned the business end of agriculture, and was lucky enough to have an opening in Duda in Florida at the time I graduated, and started on as a celery crop supervisor planting celery. And 32 years later, I'm a vice president for them, in charge of all California and Arizona production and operations.
Okay, so 30 years, congratulations, that's wonderful.
32.
32 years, excuse me, thank you for the correction. And in Ventura County, you said that Duda farms thousands of acres. How many acres do they farm in Ventura County?
Ventura County, we're farming about 2,000 acres of celery. We farm some other items, but pretty much everything that we farm is for the benefit of the celery. So anything that we farm outside of the celery here is a rotation or a cover crop or something to build the soil to make way for the celery.
Okay, and according to the Ag Commissioner Henry Gonzalez's yearly ag report, celery is the #4 crop in the county, and I'm sure that has to do with the fact that Duda is growing so much celery, and that's wonderful. And that's our harvest of the month this month is celery. And can you tell us more about celery? There's a beautiful, I wish everyone, I hope you can all see this gorgeous crop of celery. It's lush, it's green, and it smells so good. What can you tell us about celery?
Well, it's a very healthy commodity, a very healthy vegetable to eat, and it's in so many items. It's a big recipe item, sometimes hidden, that you don't really realize it's there, but it's in those recipes. So many of the soups and stocks and stir fries, and it's an ingredient that most people don't think of, other than when you stuff the turkey for Thanksgiving or for Christmas.
Oh, and I love to cook. I put it in my soup. It's a great ingredient for soup.
That's a big item. And now it's a big party tray addition.
For crudité.
Yeah, crudité, there you go. For dips and socializing and things of that nature. But again, it is a very diet beneficial vegetable because it's a negative calorie vegetable, meaning your body uses up more calories to consume it than it actually brings in. So as you're eating celery, you're actually losing weight.
Oh, that's good to know. I do recommend celery for people that are on diets because it is such a low-calorie food.
Absolutely.
And this crop behind us, they are harvesting today as we are talking. You've got a lot of workers out in the field and they're harvesting, and this looks like it's perfect and ready to grow. When was this crop planted?
This crop was planted by transplants. Celery in the field is put in as transplants. The seed is put into a nursery about anywhere from 2 to 3 months, depending on the time of year, to make the size transplant that you need to bring it to the field to put in the ground. Once you put it in the ground, depending on the time of year, it can take anywhere from 90 days to say 140 days in California, variable because of the time of year that you plant, whether it's a cold day, in the cold season where you have shorter days, it takes longer to produce the celery during those times. So this crop was actually planted towards the end of August, and so here we are in December, and I guess probably
right.
100 and, about 110 days,
120
maybe,
days.
so, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So about four months. Now, we're seeing a lot of activity down at the end. Our wonderful Ventura County agricultural workforce who work so hard every single day to make sure that we have food on our table. They're down on this beautiful, lovely day working. Can we maybe go down there and see what they're up to, or can we pick some celery over here? Is that okay?
Actually, we'll do both. We'll cut some celery and look at it and get a little bit closer view of it, and then we'll go ahead and cut, or we'll watch the celery harvest, and I'll explain to you what's going on as
Perfect.
we get down there.
I don't remember a more beautiful day in Ventura County. It is absolutely gorgeous today, isn't it?
It's absolutely gorgeous. We really need it because it's a time when we need to dry out. We just had a couple of inches of rain over the weekend, and so this dry day and this sunshine is very welcome news.
Oh, yes, it is. It's gorgeous. Okay, Dean, thank you. And we're here in front of a harvest of celery that's ready to go. And is this a particular, are there varieties of celery?
Absolutely. There are commercial varieties that are available out there to the industry, but all of Duda's varieties are owned internally. They're all plant variety protected and or patented varieties that we've developed over the last
90 years. Yeah,
exactly.
Wonderful. See, I never would have known that. So this is a particular Duda variety.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so did you say, now how many do you have? This is just one. How many? Do you have 10? Do you have 20?
Currently in production that we're using this year in all of our operations, it would probably be in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 varieties that we're using to make our harvest through California into Arizona and then also Florida. I would say 12 to 15 varieties right now that we're using. That comes from about several hundred that we have available to us,
Okay.
that we select and that we're trying to position into the proper slot for the right geographical region,
Okay.
and so on and so forth.
So the variety is not so much about the for tasting purposes. It's more about what does well where for what climate.
Well, I have to, correct you there. We look at all of the above.
All of
It's
it.
got to be able to produce in the area, but it also has to meet our taste, our texture, and our quality standards from a standpoint of how it looks and how it shingles, and I'll get into that. In fact, if you want, I'll go ahead and cut a stalk and explain
Absolutely.
to you what we're talking about.
Please do.
Sure.
And you're using a special knife or a special
This is a special celery knife. You noticed how the blade is set at an angle, which allows you to set the blade down and come through straight, makes a straight cut on the bottom of the celery, or the butt of the celery. It then is trimmed again, and we pull off these sucker limbs and baby limbs to get down to the stalk of celery that we have here. At that point, what I wanted to say about the shingling action is you see how the celery has these three petioles here, and they shingle almost like shingles on a roof. 1, 2, 3, with the middle one being straight and uniform. This is also what we would call the face of the celery, and that's how we pack it. We like to pack the celery with the face of the celery up, so that when the customer gets that, open the box, they see that, and it really looks nice. A nicely shingled celery is one that has more than one face. This one, as you see, has a face here. It has a face here. This, not quite as attractive, but nonetheless, you still see the shingling. However, this and this are the most attractive sides. Now what we would do, once the celery is cut, and I see that our cutters have just taken, have just finished for the day, so I'm going to try to show you just what they go through when they cut the celery. And what you do is you grab the celery with a backhand, such as this. You cut the celery to detach it. Okay. You make the bottom trim to trim the butt.
Okay.
Now the significance of having the backhand is so that when you flip the celery over to top it, your hand is supporting the limbs.
Okay.
So that when you top the celery,
oh, perfect.
you don't let the limbs fall off, and it supports the celery. So now you have a trimmed stalk of celery with a nice face and ready to go in the box.
Perfect. And that, I have to say, that is beautiful, and I wish you could all smell what I'm smelling right now, because it just smells amazing. We all know what good celery smells like, and you can imagine being in a field with thousands of celery stalks. It's just a phenomenal smell. And so this is ready to eat right away.
Well, like any raw, fresh vegetable
You have to wash it.
that is picked by hand, if it hasn't been processed or gone through for special packaging or value-added packaging, you need to wash that. Just because it has been out in the elements and everything else. But yeah, it's ready to go. Stick her under the faucet, wash it off, rinse it, and have fun.
Okay. Now, how long do you store celery before you ship it to your customers? Is it like 1 day, 2 days, a week?
Yeah, our celery is, for the most part, cut daily, goes into the cooler, is pre-cooled and ready for shipment the next day. And so it can be, we won't hold the celery longer than 3 or 4 days in the cooler, but typically it's done quicker than that. It could be cut today, shipped tomorrow, but if it's going to the East Coast, that could be a 5-day ride, so it could be a week from the time it was cut once it gets to the East Coast. And then it goes into the distribution centers for the different retail stores, and then it moves on to where they want to do it. We would like to see it have at least a 7-day shelf life once it gets on the shelf, and then that lets the customer, they can market it for 7 days, the customer can take it home, and it should still give them a week at least of use in the refrigerator.
Well, every time I go to the grocery store and I purchase celery, I'm pretty sure it's Duda, and I've seen your logo many times, so I know it is. And every time I've gotten your product, it's absolutely wonderful. It tastes delicious.
Fantastic.
And I wanted to close up with, we're standing in this most amazing soil. I'm smelling the soil. It looks very rich. And what kind of soil does your celery need?
The celery, you know, it likes heavy ground, meaning it likes the mineral soils out here in California, with a bit of clay particles in it as well, so that it holds together, binds together, has a good moisture content, that it'll hold a lot of moisture, but it still needs the capability or the capacity to drain well, because the roots need oxygen as well as they need water, and if it gets too tight and compact, they'll starve of the nutrient, they'll starve of the water that it needs to get to them as well. And so we really do work hard on trying to build our soil, build organic matter into the soil, and so you see all of this celery strippings that are here gets turned back into the soil, and the microbial action of that breakdown helps build nutrient in the soil as well. So do the rotational crops that we put in here, and or cover crops that we put back in that we're rotating with throughout the course of the year, build the soil for the celery.
Okay, and are you harvesting celery year-round, or is this the season?
We're harvesting celery year-round somewhere in California.
Okay.
Florida is strictly a December through April slot, but California, we're going year-round in it, either here in Ventura County or up in Monterey County.
Okay, and one last thing. I know that farmers today, many of them are trying to practice sustainability, and I had the pleasure of attending your green ribbon cutting ceremony over the summer, and you put in an installation of solar panels. And can you tell me a little bit about the solar energy that you're making now?
Oh, absolutely, but I'll end with that, because it all starts here. And as far as sustainability goes, we start out with GPSs on our tractors, which helps with the guidance of the steering of the tractors in the land preparation, which reduces the amount of fuel that's used in the production of this crop. Go from there, we go on to we're using compost for our part of our nutritional program is using compost in our soil as well. The tractors that we use are all Tier 4 for emission standards, which is the highest emission standards that are available at this point in time. We also then go to drip irrigation, and drip irrigation is probably one of the more important things that we do, simply because water is such an important natural resource. We have a limited amount and quantity of it, and the utilization and management of that resource is really one of the most important things that we can do as growers of produce. Moving on to the processing facility in the cooler, where our product is waiting for shipment. The entire building had a solar installation on top of it, and then the parking structure all the way around, or the parking a structure was put with solar panels all the way around it, so we actually have undercover parking at our facility as well. It produces a good share of the electricity that we need, so it's a good renewable energy, and I think we're going in the right direction.
Wonderful, wonderful, clean, renewable energy. That's good news. That's great to hear. I had a wonderful time at that event. I was so happy to get invited. And
it was good. I'd like to actually bring out one more point on sustainability before we end, and it's an important one in that it's a direction that our company has taken and a real focus. This is carton celery, and what we're doing now is and we do still put a lot of emphasis and a lot of importance and time and study into this in our carton celery, but we're also doing a fresh cut celery that is celery sticks. And you mentioned, is this ready to eat? And I said, no, this needs to be washed. That product is ready to eat, is ready to open, and we've got some of that celery right on the other side of this farm. If you want to take a couple minutes to go over and cut a stalk, and I'll show you the difference between this stalk and that stalk and why that has a sustainable impact.
How can we say no to that? Okay, we'll meet you over at the other field.
Great.
Okay. We are back with Dean, and we're in a different area of the ranch in Fillmore, and Dean's going to explain a few of the differences and the varieties from where we just were to where we are now.
Right. The celery, this is the stalk of celery that we had and we were looking at over in the other side of the field, and this is what we would consider a carton variety. This is about a 3 dozen size, or a 2.5 dozen, 30 or 36 count size celery, and but that's for cartons. This is, and you can see how much longer it is and how much thinner it is, and this actually is what we use for our new processor line celeries, fresh cut for value-added packaging. And this product, differently than what the carton celery, won't need to be washed, because once we get done with this product, it'll be put into a resealable bag or a sealed bag that can be either resealed or used accordingly. And but this product will be ready to eat because it'll have gone through our facility, it'll have been sanitized and cleaned and everything, so that everything that goes into the bag out of this product will be ready to eat. Now, the important thing to that, for sustainability even, is that when this product goes to the consumer, it'll be missing the butt of the celery, and it'll be missing the top of the celery, and only the petioles, only the stems will be left, and they'll be in a clean fashion, which means that what we're shipping, wherever it is that the customer is, whatever we ship, it'll be shipping only ready to eat product, meaning that you're not spending shipping, carbon footprint, cost, and time into product that's going to be disposed of on the other end. So this is all going to be usable product and not shipping any waste. And that's how this relates to sustainability in the fresh cut industry.
Wow, and it's really obvious the difference between the varieties.
Sure.
And thank you so much for that explanation. And thank you so much for today. I feel like I'm a celery expert. And again, this month in December, we are highlighting Dean as the Vice President of Duda. They're the #1 grower of celery in the world. And where can our viewers find more information about Duda if they're looking for it?
Simple, go to www.duda.com. There'll be all kind of information there. There's recipes there. There's things that you can do with celery, areas that we grow our celery, and all the information that you want to find.
Wonderful. And I'm sure you can find Duda celery in your local grocery store. And thank you again, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, Mary.